Jesus Christ, but we are all children of one mother. Then why do we fight against each other, brother against brother? Come, let us take an oath to never fight between ourselves. Let us have peace and harmony on earth. Why should we let religion create conflict in our lives? We are all children of one mother. And to be in the presence of this man, I helped cut the ribbon on an international conference of Nick Chan, probably the most prolific visionary artist in the world, over in Chandigarh. And he was one of the people there to very modestly perform. And he unrolled this scroll and sang this song. And I said, I get it, you know, this has got to be here. So it's been held in waiting for this show for 3 years. But we have here in a minute, we'll go in the back and I'm going to show you an artist who, when you sent unsolicited, then you didn't know what show we were going to do, your piece. I said, that's it, that's the first piece. We'll confirm with a contract in the show. I'm so privileged to meet you. And you live like with 2 miles from here or something, right?
I'd say 10 or 15 minutes.
10 or 15 minutes.
I live on Cherry Hill, Brooklyn.
In Cherry Hill? That's a stone's throw. Okay, so we have the Mother Gallery, and a lot of it is self-explanatory. This is another local artist, Timmerman Dowdery. If you know the line in the Old Testament, in Bereshit, in Genesis, there's the line, and God created man in his own image, male and female, he created them. So the commentary from Jewish scholars is that we were created male and female front and back in one being, and that then we were divided, always longing to find our mates. And of course you see her version of the male on this side and the female in the shell. It's the primordial from the water. Yeah. And Timmy lives right on Calvert Street, so so we'll come around this way. How many of you have ever heard of the story, the true story, of a beautiful young woman? And it turns out her parents were evangelists. You know, she grew up in that tradition of revival tanks. But she never really felt herself connected to God in any way from that tradition. She loved her parents, but did not feel that was her path. She moved to California, opened a restaurant, had a major car accident, near death, but recovered, and then went out with her kind of hippie good friends out to the redwood forest. And she said, when she saw the redwood forest, like many of us, our connection to the divine is through nature. She just dropped to her knees, and she was in front of a 600-year-old tree that is up to 14 stories high. And she found out that that particular tree and the grove near it was scheduled for commercial cutting to make lumber, okay, 600-year-old tree. And she just couldn't stand that. So people were taking turns being up the top of the tree, because if the loggers dared to cut it, they would be killed. So they realized, you know, they could save them off by being so high up. Julia Butterfly Hill stayed for nearly 2 years without once coming down to protect that tree or touching the ground with her feet. In other words, all of her, the food was put out, so you see a lot of cardboard cereal boxes that she used in all the time she was through snowstorms, electrical storms, powerful winds, and the experience of living in that tree as part of it, sleeping, having her whole life there, really was a huge awakening that transformed her for the rest of her life. And these are, for the first time ever, Julia permitted part of her diary from this time to be shared in a museum setting. And she will be coming here later in the year. For me, it's such an important aspect to faith, because her faith was so reflected in her action, etc. So it's very beautiful what she wrote. This has been in our permanent collection and never shown. I've been waiting to show it. And we were given early on the entire collection of Dr. Otto Willig, the last psychiatrist who studied with Freud and who was Zelda Fitzgerald's psychiatrist. And he was chief of Vanderbilt. He was chief of Vanderbilt University's Department of Psychiatry. And everybody wanted his very precious life archive. And before we were even a hole in the ground, We met each other, and he gave me, here he had a like quadruple bypass, everything for this museum. He said, with you, this will be used correctly. It won't just be sitting in a dark corner. And so one of the things was back from the 30s, this woman, mental patient, collaged a whole book full of images. But this one that she had found, this seal means safety, that she collaged was very beautiful. So this is the Need to Know, the Need to Belong gallery.
They saved the tree.
They saved the tree. You know what's so interesting about this? Just real quick. Not only did they save that she succeeded, she only came down when she was assured with the lumber company that they had reached an agreement to save not only Luna, but all of the other trees in that particular grove. But then, after they thought everything was right, some vandal came and cut the tree almost in half. Now, so it must have taken him hours and hours and hours to create that level of vandalism because of how huge these trees are. And all the horticulturists said it can't be saved. So they went to a Native American wisdom person and they said, what can be done? He said, you know, bear saliva. Bear saliva is very healing. And mix it with mud. And then, so they said, bear saliva. And they called the zoo, and the zoo said, well, we can anesthetize the bear and get a lot of the saliva. And they mix it with mud, and then the people put in their own, the Native Americans said, that's okay. And this tree that all the horticulturists said could possibly not live is as beautiful and without damage as ever. So there we are, bear spit, you heard it here. Just here, you may remember this altar piece from our show, Race, Class, and Gender, 3 things that contribute 0 to character. This is by an artist that's now in our permanent collection named Adrienne Kellard, who contracted AIDS very early on. And do you remember in the early days, people didn't know how it was transmitted. They didn't want you sneezing on them. They didn't want you sitting next to them. It was brutal. And he loved his church. And the people he was open that he had contracted AIDS, did not want him there. So right when he needed his church the most, they did not want him. So he built in his home his own church. And that became his solace, so Need to Belong. So with them. Mr. Martin, are you here?
Yes, ma'am.
May you please come front and center? Now, we have not yet put your beautiful words to the captive that you sent me, but I get 1.5 feet of unsolicited mail a day here. I have lost the battle of responding. If you hate me for not responding to you, please don't. It's just I would be dead if I responded to everything that comes through the mail. But this, how could this not leap out? Behind a row house, like a typical, house, how do we pronounce your name? How do you pronounce your name?
Regan Martin.
Regan.
I prefer you to call me Regan.
Regan, not Reagan. I'm glad about that. Regan, like Regal almost.
Regan.
Sent me this, not knowing what the show was going to be, and he called it The Captive, and he wrote these beautiful things about what you had been captive to.
I got a memory lot. Actually, after 9/11, I got really upset looking at the news all day and seeing all these different pressing stories just coming through. Previous to that, I painted a little, but I never really got back to painting because I was so tied up with kids, my wife, and things surviving. So after 9/11, I said to myself, maybe I should do something like that because tomorrow is promised to no one, but maybe tomorrow doesn't. So I got back to painting, and then I wanted to create something that would represent every captive person in the world, because generally we are captive to something. We're either captive to the beauty, or we're captive to money, we're captive to drugs, we're captive to power, race, religion. 6. Actually, I do have part of it here, and I will read to you. It says, ever since the dawn of time, humans and animals have been held captive by man. Some reasons are beauty, race, religion, sex, love, ignorance, greed, money, power, economics, weakness, culture, enemies, environment, and drugs. But the spirit of the living and the laws of nature are to resist captivity, even though this could bring about the destruction of a complete nation, race, or species. Regardless of the tragedy or pain, the laws of nature, actually the laws of the universe, compel all living organisms to resist to the end, becoming captive. And this is the only way I think I could have portrayed the captivity of the human individual or species.
Oh, I love it. Yeah. Now look here. Now where's Michael Green? These images here are from Michael Green's a magnificent book called The Illuminated Rumi. And when I saw this image in it, these words are the words of Rumi. I honor those who try to rid themselves of any lying, who empty the self and have only clear being there. And I thought about your sculpture and those beautiful words that you sent me. And I thought, oh my gosh, I have to make a relationship. Don't you think they dance well together? And then Surmet Aslan, my sweet friend, his work was also about captive and freeing oneself. Would you like to explain? The green piece is here.
Basically, as a dervish, there is a thing called Seyr Suluk. When you are being initiated, I'm sure Michael is very familiar with that. We never taught anything. They never teach anything. We never receive any kind of teaching. Seyr Suluk means, Seyr means watch. Suluk means your own, what mind does to body. What is the driving force? Hungry, who knows that? Angry, who knows that? Who makes those decisions, gives order to hand to slap it, love, kiss, whatever that might be. So, when we start examining what is consciousness. Is it stem from matter or stem from process, interaction? Source we're trying to find out. The earlier, I heard one of the opening for the secret letters. The author says, I've been through struggle, hate, confusion. Well, this is it, you know. We all experience this, or we will experience this. If you don't go search inward, then you're going to come up with certain customs, environment. We are shackled to that religion, and we try to free ourselves. I born into a Sufi family, from Bektashi Sufis, you know, smokes, drinks. Life is good. Mevlevis, all the other different orders, they all have some restriction and some openness. But later on, when you start asking, this was my first painting. Our neighbor was a bird salesman. So I see him in the morning, sometimes he gets up, he had the top over it like a green Volkswagen, or I think that was a Volkswagen, I don't know, an old car. And he has this, he put these cages, and I always thought, how come nobody cages an ugly bird? Or if there is an ugly bird, you know, how come everything so beautiful has been captivated? Always. How come there is not a... I don't mean ugly as a bird. Who am I to judge another living being? I'm just saying as nominal sense I'm using the word, you know. No crow. How come there's no crow in there or something like that? You know, always a canary, always with some beautiful colors. And then later in my life, I figured, okay, Nelson Mandela was being put into a cage. He said beautiful things. Che Guevara got killed. All the people have something good to say. It seems like it's captured or captivated or punished by it. So that's why I start to cry. I mean, is that all the good things, all beautiful things needs to be... These are the stages that goes through one nefs from seyr sülük, from here, nefs-i ammara, which is animal self, once everything, all the conventional reality becomes our own reality, which is delusion. You know, when we call a cup, we don't know that the glass is made out of subatomic particles of sand, actually, boiled down to be a glass. When you really examine, there is no such a thing as a glass. We impute reality upon external objects, and then we obsess with them. So these are all our problem in the all humanity, that what we impute upon reality, that we think as a reality, and we obsessively hold on to them, making us happy. But since it's the, Rebecca was the impermanent nature of reality, nothing stands second in the same thing. Everything evolves, everything changes. We live through change, we remind our life through change actually, no change. For element dissolves, water, earth, and we're gone. What we think us is gone. Not the true nature never touches. This is about the religion. Checks you, you're Catholic, you're bad. But internal hands, which is the meditative mind, when you go to the seyr sülük, you come to the next level, question himself. I've been give a few questions on the source. How come Adam wasn't a son of God? My teacher said, well, he was the first man. How come Jesus is the son of God? Do you think he could have been the son of God? First person seems like it. Even Eve came out of his rib. That was my question. So Sufis sometimes our teacher us, we never teach anything. But that kind of questions we can go internally, examine that. And religion here says Muslim means don't drink, don't do this. All that inhibition, all the restriction. But mind says no, examine them, question them again and again and again and again, because true nature of mind exempt from all religion. All we think of religion, all we think of God is we impute upon certain mold, and then we receive that through that mold. So it's all restricted. Later on, obviously, we've been there. You know, this is the time that this one, oh, are you Osama bin Laden? You look like that. You know, I've been approached about earlier life, some other thing, because we represent certain humanness, you know, the black, the white, the green, the whatever the color is. And that we are in there constantly judged and constantly being subject, even to ourselves, and by others too, which we had no choice actually, you know, like comment into that. This is all our struggle of point of nefs-i levvame, sees that, okay now, I'm not bound to everything. I don't belong to anything, but everything belongs to me. I don't belong to any religion, every religion belongs to me. Who is that I? What constitutes the I? Is it foundable in atomic? No. Is it foundable in consciousness? No. What I know of Sermet imputed upon me. What I know of Islam given to me. What I know of Turkness, I born in that. So nothing that I know of me is that has nothing to do with the true nature. When the Sermet goes to sleep, done. Who is that Sermet? What's the Sermet like? So that is the one that when you come to the point, the little veil comes. Whether you want to stay in the one foot in the reality, which we call real, but it's not real, one foot in the unreal, we can see but real. So this is the I think that a purgatory or perplexed state which all spiritual seekers find that moment, whether should I go here or stay there. And this is the stages, but later on, you come, everything kind of all dust settles in. There is no other actual, there is no distance or depthness on. You can't really segregate anymore. Then that state, some call through nature of realities, we have a lot of names, I'm not going to give it a name, but just being a human being, you know, which is the most dervish goes through the stages to have insani kamil, being a good human being. Neither God consciousness, neither that consciousness, just pure human being. So later of painting, I bow to my animalness. Okay, I am an animal. I want this, I want that. Then I bow to my heart. You know what? It's okay. I'm going to love everybody. And then later on, you put that humanness on you and just, that's it. Everything else is here. Even though I graduate a little bit when I paint, but I paint my experiences, not my ideas. Because I'm not good at painting my ideas. I'd rather have my experiences and that's it. And he said, okay, me too. You'll let me confirm that. So, and more I'm painting, less I'm able to talk about my painting, and you are the one who can see yourself. And thank you very much.